This next question, I cannot wait to hear your response on, Carrie, because I know this is your area of expertise. What can my organization say, or what can our response be to the current environment when it comes to racism, especially when we think we have supporters with racist viewpoint? So, Carrie, you are like the queen of diversity and inclusion and all of these efforts. I know you've been living in this space for a long time, so I can't wait to hear, what do you think about all of that?
Yeah, and so thank you, Kyle, and thank you for those compliments too. So I'm going to take the first part of the question first. So what can my org say, especially when we think we have like conservative supporters or supporters who may not support the Black Lives Matter movement at all, right? And so honestly, I think that this goes back to your company values and being able to tie any message, whatever it is, to the values that your company already stands for, because that's like your shared agreement with both your internal contingent as well as your external community and supporters. And in a case like this, no matter what is happening around it, like whether you agree with protests or not, or the Black Lives Matter organization or not, like we literally watched a man be killed in the most despicable and like nonchalant way possible. Like that's what this is about. That's really what you're responding to. And if that is okay with you, like that doesn't bother you, then don't say anything. And don't worry about what people think about, what you might say. But if you're like fundamentally against murder on camera by the police, and I know that I'm obviously taking a strong stance and side here, but that's what we saw. That's like the fact of what we saw. Then like you should be okay with like just standing up and saying, hey, what we saw was wrong. And we want to let our company know, both internally and externally, that we don't stand behind anything like that. And what we do stand behind are XYZ values, right? So you're just restating your values. You can even leave out the first part and just say, hey, as a company, we don't stand for any injustice. What we do stand for, however, is XYZ. It makes it really simple. That's why you spend the time on the values. And now you've both supported the world in the sense of supporting humanity, but then also let your employees know that you support them. Because when you don't say something, and you have people who believe or are part of a group or believe in a cause, regardless of what it is, then what that shows is that you don't really support them. If you have any people of color at your organization and you have not said anything, you need to say something right away, because the people of color in your organization are hurting and they're frustrated and they're angry and they're wondering why the company that they're giving their best time, talent, and skills to isn't supporting them back, right? And if that's not your intention, then you have to make that right. And so being able to step up and to say something is like super, it's critical. And you don't have to agree with the methods. You don't have to agree with, protesting. What you're agreeing with is that life is valuable. And that we support people living is really what Black Lives Matter is about as one of its core tenets. So Kyle, I don't know if there's anything that you want to add to that. I kind of went on a little rant there, but that was inside.
That was great. No, that was great. And it's so true, because when you do stop and think about the issue at hand, you're exactly right. Life is valuable. That's what we're talking about here, right? I would say, and even from an individual perspective, right? Because we're all individuals working for companies, representing companies, whatever it may be. And my area of expertise is more in the individual mindset. And so I would just urge you, as a part of your company, regardless of their response or non-response, continue to make it your mission to communicate with grace your viewpoint, right? Like gracefully exceed your viewpoint, your ideas, in hope, right? In hope that that will influence those around you. In hope that that will influence, like Carrie said, the organization that you're dedicating your work to, your time and your energy to. So whatever you can as individuals, because we're all operating as individuals. We don't control the organizations. We don't control that, right? We hope and we pray that they respond in these ways, like Carrie said. But as individuals, just continue to extend like ridiculous amounts of grace so that people continue to have the space to navigate and respond when and if. Like, and that goes for your company, right? There might be companies that are very confused. They're not seeing it as clearly as you, that this is an issue that says this. They're seeing it as like a political issue only, or whatever it is in people's minds. So they might also be really confused as to how. So I would say, again, as an individual, be ready to come up with a way or a suggestion of how they could communicate, so that you're a part of the solution with them and you're extending grace and like a solution in their way or in their direction, so that they can more confidently step forward and give the response that's more clear-headed and confident. So that's all I would add to that.
Yes, and we often underestimate our own sphere of influence. I've talked to several people since all this started that have stepped up and just written emails or gone to talk with leadership and have had like statements made after those conversations happened, or policies changed after these conversations have happened. So use your own influence, your own experience to bring those, to raise those concerns, to help clear up the confusion and to point a way forward, because a lot of times those can go much farther than we expect and actually get the results that we want in getting the companies to take a stand, to send out the email to people, reassuring and reconnecting, and reuniting people in this time of just such disparate energy and just tension and turmoil. So
yeah. And I will have to say, you made me think of something, Carrie, is we named our workshop How to Disrupt, or we kind of subtitled it, How to Disrupt the Cycle of Racism, right? So whatever you can do to disrupt the cycle of the anger around racism too, I think is huge. So I just thought of an example when you were talking is my kids go to a school where they hadn't made a statement quick enough to someone's liking. And that someone, God bless her, came to me and was like, hey, how do you feel? Like, they haven't responded. And I was like, hey, I actually hadn't even thought about them responding or not. But because you did, thank you, number one. And let's come up together with a way that we can encourage them, right? That we can remind them, like, we're here and this is a place that we're expecting some kind of response, or like Carrie said, some kind of like unity building. So, I encouraged this friend, I said, I'm so glad you were convicted. Don't ignore that conviction. Just reach out with so much grace and so many like ideas and solutions, a resource for them to, again, craft their response. So you just reminded me of that example. So thanks, Carrie.
Yes, and I definitely appreciate everything that you said, for sure, and being able to reach out with grace. Sometimes though, like, just being real, like, people are mad and people are upset and they're hurt, and that's going to come out in how they choose to express themselves. And I just want to say that where you are, that's okay, because this is about doing the perfect thing all the time. It's about being where you are. It's about taking the steps that you can take, and then it's about, in the cases where it doesn't go the way you want, trying something better, trying something different, trying again next time. And so, for people who are angry, it's valid. And just how do you channel that anger into something that eventually gets to what you want it to be? So you go through the stages, and then see, how can we move stuff forward ultimately, once we come out of that state. And it's back and forth. Like, we're all, ever since the pandemic started, we've all been up and down and up and down and over left and right. And so honoring where we are, but then also keeping in mind that vision for what we want. And I think, Kyle, that speaks a lot to the grace that you're talking about, and being able to push towards that solution. So
yeah, you remind me of one more thing too. It's like the rule that we all learn as kids, right? Like, 2 wrongs don't make a right. And in my house, we talk about it too. We're like, well, 3 wrongs don't make right. 4 wrongs, 5 wrongs. If you keep adding wrongs, it is never going to equal right. So as angry as you are, like Carrie said, figure out how to channel that, because meeting anger with more anger, right, is not going to help the disruption. So it's like figuring out how to channel that anger and use it productively to find the ways that we can appropriately disrupt the cycle of that anger, right? So yeah, it's just a reminder, like, in our household, just as in society, right? Like, continuing to add wrongs is not going to ever equal right. So figure out how to channel your anger towards what is right.
I think that's it's like I don't know, it's like up for interpretation, like, right, like, what is right? Seen protesting all over the world, and a lot of the protesting, I've cheered for. Like, if you're going to tear down and throw a slaver statue into a river in London, I think that's awesome. Why do we up anyways? And what is right and what is wrong? I think it's just this, it's the space that we're all navigating right now. And so I think that really, and we've talked about this from the beginning, like you have to decide how you are engaging and where your place is in this, and how, again, you can push towards what you want. Because, you know, a lot of people will say all the protesting around the globe, both peaceful through ripping down, ripping up, tearing down, these incredible responses that from companies, from organizations, from leaders, from people, from everyone, that all this culmination of everything working together in the rightness, wrongness, blackness, whiteness, whatever that is, all of these things together is what is driving this momentum in a way that it hasn't been driven before. And if there were no violent protests, if there were no protests, like, would all of this come to the head that we're at right now? I'm not sure. But I do know that, you know, we all have to define what that right, what that wrong, and how we're engaging is. And then again, just keeping that vision for what we're trying to push towards.
Yeah. I feel like now we can talk about this forever, because you just reminded me too, right? There's this man who lived 2,000 years ago. His name was Jesus. If you're of the Christian faith, right? There's stories that are amazing about him, but there's also stories where he got angry, right? So there's a story where he went into the temple and he upended like things that he saw as well, like, right? He like protested in his own way and kind of was destructive in a certain way. So I draw on that, and you're exactly right, Carrie. It's each one of us as individuals have to navigate anger and our part in that. But I come back to, like, you know, when you're convicted by something, you know, right? Like inside yourself. So don't ignore your convictions. I think that's my biggest, like, navigate your convictions, take the pauses when you need to. Like, don't go in angrily without having like thought about what it is. Don't stop a conviction and not act on it, and don't ignore convictions, like, right, to be afraid of. So it's like, use your own moral compass to engage appropriately for who you are and for what you believe is right. But again, that's a conversation we could have for so long. Like, what is right? Like, what if right to you is not right, right? So it's a crazy conversation. I don't even remember our question now. I think we're talking about how to infuse diversity into an organization and what they say. But I hope this is adding some light and shedding some more light to those that are watching.